This is Guludlaw, General of the Armies. I want to get to the end of my stories, my fictional tales, and my books. In the method of this last one, I want to teach Vladimir Putin, President Putin. That is, Vladimir Putin of Russia. That's President Vladimir from Russia. President Vladimir Putin, the Russian person at the Kremlin. Anyway, I guess I'm going to talk over this money that is sure to be the type of money that takes a bite of Russia. It's my system to try to figure out what our enemies are doing. It's almost as if all the heavy industry plants and all the factories and everything that could ever be blamed for having made things worse, not being empirically perfect about making things better, like the environment, is doing this. I want to start with an intervention in the air, basically gaseous matter. This also works with water. So as far as the air is concerned, there's the gas chromatography, like with the standard chemistry lab sets. Maybe it's advanced only, or people who take it as high as they can that aren't in the honors. Gas spectrometers. You need to run these in arrays. They interfere with each other when they're running in an array, so they link up to listen to each other and read interference patterns. You need like a center of that. It's sort of like building an atom. You need like a center of an array of something listening to the interference, because they're running in arrays and barrages. And then with that being the center, there's an exterior. I'm sort of talking like an atom. There's an exterior shell. I think you have to balance these things. I don't have a lot of memories about running them in arrays. So it's like sort of like the same thing as bundled in the center, except to be an exterior shell to hold everything together in balance. And then within, an array of them needs to be running of individual batteries or arrays that are reading for only one thing that the units can possibly read for when they're reading exactly as if they weren't running in arrays. And the interior array needs to read everything they possibly can with those groups of them. Now, of course, they'll need to be connected to computers. And I don't have my memory on really well because I started some biology, chemistry experiments I'm having to remember through to get my memories back when I was doing this in honors chemistry back in the 0 AD, first ever K through 12 class. I thought things were different. During, like it was just about 20 years ago. It's like I'm making specifications for things, like one of my books for my last talking movie. It's our refuse collection system. I know it controls gaseous matter. I'm working on a function, so it's a molecular read of what is gaseous matter around it, or can be counted as such. And I mean of moles, a molar read of molecules and atoms. So what I'm working on here, with all this I'm specifying and talking about how to run, is reading molar weights and molar balances, such as molecules of atoms, or just atoms out there that can be understood with molar theory. I haven't fully gotten back into it to fully explain it. I'll expect you to handle it. The point here is the problem is so much is going on that isn't clearly defined in science, the way we have charts and tables, because there's so much new stuff or different stuff or stuff not properly labeled within the charts and tables. We need to just sort of measure it by its weights or its atomic balances, like with the theory of moles and mole weight a molar instead of molecular, never exactly even identifying what we're measuring except to try to understand the individual components within our mole reading equation, like we're just trying to balance a chemistry formula to a proper mole balance. Okay, now when the read takes place, it's going to have to make a change. This really needs to happen with the weed I've been working on, the hemp basically, because hemp does really great at using gaseous matter to let things be known that are happening within the gaseous matter around it by the way it changes, even with easy to smell systems of it. When the read takes place, it's going to change the universe around it. We need things to always get better, and when this change takes place, we need it to change things that aren't allowed to be there, that could be so dangerous, that are dangerous and shouldn't be there, or are unknowns that are dangerous, so they can never again be. And the way it needs to change things is so it can work on its mole balance read with a ping of a change of mole balance. And my system of working these equations is every place you can just move something up by the number 1, like adding one numeric whole number to a balancing equation where there are numbers that are controlling the balance of the equation, like 2 electrons on hydrogen and 3 on oxygen, whatever. If it's not the right problem, I think you might know what's going on here. So there's this function that has to take place where you only change one number, 1 unit at a time, while trying to go through the whole system of combinations and permutations of moving from that to the balance, which might never take place because things will change as this is changed with how things can change, such as our defense grids, working our refuse collection systems, like out in public, any place there is visible particulate matter they control, or at any sort of recycling or refuse units. And maybe we need our simulators trying to simulate how to get it right before trying, while trying to take the reading. And the reading never even needs to actually be fully read out or understood for the need of encryption, never decrypted to protect everybody, with it going away to never be decrypted, with it being encrypted, with the formula or problem never being worked far enough to be figured before everything changes because you keep making readings. Within the control, we know we're doing our math right with the averages and floors and ceilings we can use. So it is a combination of all these things with the controls I have mentioned to try to get everything under control to actually be the gaseous matter allowed everywhere, and that only as the formula rapidly working out, saying everything is right and perfect. By the way, I've discussed changes, and I, as a wrathful, vengeful God that's God's, sort of demand we use our particle accelerators that are particle colliders to work out how to have what we need to make these reads. And when capturing what is needed in making the readings on versus releasing things with ongoing readings being made and sensing change, we control the matter in existence with particle colliders and particle accelerators, controlling by deconstruction and destruction alone the removal of the problem stuff and the problem features even of the matter from existence by destroying the matter to particles, so it can never be the same stuff again. With our controls, the particles aren't something worse, and theoretically maybe destroying it to such small particles, it is finally the smallest building blocks of particulate matter, that is, wave and particle, in existence. and having been controlled in a way it can never reform to be the problem it was, so it had to be given the penalty of military justice of this type of destruction. And finally, that type of device, that old gas spectrometer or whatever it is, I used to start. I think I started off doing a bunch of gasoline work once I advanced through chemistry honors, and I was also doing those other experiments, so I've sort of forgotten. I think Vladimir Putin has a lot of this training in what, his high school or whatever it was called. I was competing with Vladimir Putin. I met Vladimir Putin over and over in my life. I just sort of forget. I think we were dancing in a Pepsi commercial where he was like a light form. I think he showed up to some things. I'm not remembering exactly what to cite. The way it's this special communist person showing up in my life over and over. Like at Celebration Station, I sort of got a free pizza who was demanding a communist right to have a pizza at a table because the system was making sure there's always a pizza there to control people not getting in trouble for, possibly stealing a pizza when that's not really what it is. As I was working over the animatronics, and he knew what the animatronics were supposed to be doing, like I knew what they had done and how they were supposed to do what they were supposed to do by what they had said. Let's see, so one more point I might have forgotten.